Hello, welcome to today's session. We're thrilled for you to be here with us today. As you can see, we have Ilene Schaffer with us, and I will introduce her in a moment, but first I'll just say hi. Hi, Ilene.
Hello, nice to be with you. It's been too long, so I'm glad to
I
be back.
know. I'm really glad we're doing this. So a couple of words about Ilene and then settle in and enjoy today's show. We are super interactive, so give us comments, give us information. Here we go. Today's episode is about the 1-to-3 method to how you can balance your own resources. This is the 1-2-3 approach. Ilene blends her positive psychology and her life transitions counseling to help her executive and life coaching clients thrive in this ever-changing world. So we're thrilled she's here with us today, and enjoy the episode. Hi, Ilene, handing it over to you.
Excellent. Hello, everybody. Hello, Senya. Great to be here. So recently I gave a talk and we asked, what could you use to just have some more support? What can we do? And it was, in this talk, we sent out a survey. That was the survey question. What could you use? A lot of answers. The very best one, number one answer, a robot. Who couldn't use a robot? And I was thinking about it, and she wanted her robot to take care of her husband and kids. But I was thinking about all my clients, and I have clients who don't have a husband or kids. They might have a wife and kids. They might have a partner. They may have no kids. They live alone. I have clients across the country and internationally. All of them would want a robot, regardless of their life situation. Senya, would you like a robot?
I would like 3 robots, and I can think of specific things for them to do. Absolutely.
So it's like, and I thought, wow, what a great answer. And I think that's what we're feeling. People are overtired, overstressed, and overworked. Or as one of my clients said yesterday, he said, I'm underslept. I've never heard of that before. He's underslept. And then I had another client later said the same thing, the sleep deprivation. And a lot of that is overworked and overstressed. So what I started thinking about is I thought, well, gosh, we can't give out robots to everybody, as great as that would be. But what can we do in our own shoes, in our own body, in our own world, and create some, tap into our natural resources? Because truly, as you know, Senya, and the audience who have come to some of my webinars before, I'm very fixated on what's in your control. Anything else, it's not worth it. It's not in your control anyway. So I thought, okay, we have to tap what's in our control. And that's where I came up with this 1-2-3 approach to leveraging your natural resources. So here we go. 1 is there's 1 you. And I'm going to go back to all of these. 2, you have 2 lenses. 3, you have 3 areas: yourself, your thoughts, and your relationships. So let's go back to the 1 you. If we were phones, we might upgrade periodically. Unfortunately, we're not phones. We're not getting any upgrades. There is no way to upgrade ourselves. So we're stuck with who we are and where we are. So we better take darn good care of ourselves. A car runs at, your car breaks down, you might get a new car. We're not getting a new us. So 1 you. So now what we have control over is our 2 lenses, which are replenish and drain. And then our 3 areas, which again, the self, your thoughts, and your relationships. So let's jump into those 3 things real quickly. And the reason I like replenish and drain, as I said before, I like what we can control. If you think about most things that drain you, they're often out of our control. So what's happening in the world, there's a lot of people that are feeling stressed out about that. And there's some things that they might be able to make impact on and other things that might be out of control. There's things that might happen at work that might not be in your control. Things that happen at home. All of a sudden, you have kids at home who you're schooling. That's not in your control. So now we're left with, okay, what's in my control? And that's the piece that you get to replenish. So all those other things might drain you, but we're going to focus in on what replenishes. So now let's look at our 3 areas. Let's put our fist up. Are you okay if I out you on this one, Senya?
So yeah, sure. I don't even know where you're going. Yes.
You might be good on this, so I might not be outing you. So let's put our finger up if you have done some kind of exercise today. And that exercise is movement, okay? And walking from your bed to your office in the house, is not movement, okay? That is movement, but not enough. So some kind of movement. Number 2, if you have had some kind of healthy meal, Senya and I were just talking about, we drink tea in the morning. That's not a meal. Coffee, even coffee with milk, not a meal. So some healthy nourishment today. The third one, if you got minimally 7 hours of sleep, that was last night, not cumulatively for the week, 7 hours last night.
Terrible, okay. Ilene.
And I have to bring that up because I have so many clients that that's a real tough one, right? So number 4, you have talked to somebody today who makes you smile, makes you laugh, fills you up. And then number 5 is that let me go back to number 5 so I can, filling your bucket. Number 5, there, my hands, these things, the videos are backwards. So I'm trying to get my hand in here properly. Number 5, did something to fill your bucket. So that might look like, it could be a creative project. Senya and I were just talking about organizing the spice drawer, the teas, whatever. Organizing could be filling your bucket. Journaling, filling your bucket. Being in your garden. I have a client who does ukulele. 10 minutes, that's it, fills her bucket, okay? So those 5 things are replenishers. Those 5 things you have control over. The whole world could be in a, turned upside down. Those are your 5 things that you still maintain control over. They're your replenishers.
So it sounds like the clock starts every morning, or if you count the sleep, then it's like you're counting these 5 every day.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So every day, when or if you feel off, you want to think about, okay, those key 5 things. Where am I? Have I done these things? Because that is equivalent to gassing your car. If you're driving your car and you run out of gas, even if you're at quarter tank, you're thinking, I got to get gas. You're out of gas. Of course, you've got to get gas. Same thing with your phone. Oh my gosh, it's at 5%. Plug it in. Right? With ourselves, we don't think about gassing ourselves up. So these are your
5 again. Can you give us the 5 again?
Absolutely. So it's exercise. And I like to move away from exercise to movement because exercise can have that connotation of, ugh, I don't like it. Just to give you a glimpse, while I was getting ready for today, there was a dance video that popped onto my phone while I was just getting, my hair, hair blow dried and everything. I started dancing with the video. It was so fun. That's all you need to do. You can dance, you can take your dog for a walk, moving your body throughout the day. So that's exercise. The next one is nutrition, a healthy nutrition or a healthy meal. Then sleep, that's 7 hours of sleep. Something that fills your bucket. It could be any kind of hobby or something you love. And then that person who makes you smile and laugh. Oftentimes we forget that connection piece. That might be a 5-minute call of just, oh my gosh, my day has been so draining. Tell me something fun in your life. And then all of a sudden you feel better. Okay. So that's that self piece. So think of your fist and then those 5 fingers. Now let's think about your thoughts. This is another area. We're looking through that lens of replenish and drain. Mm-hmm. With your thoughts, our negative thoughts, that self-talk, that just, Ariana Huffington, I once heard her speak and she talked about the nasty roommate who lives in your brain. And she said that person needs to be evicted. But our negative thoughts can really take us down. They deplete us. They impact our productivity, right? So having thoughts that fill you up, and you can only hold one thought at a time. It is humanly impossible to have 2 thoughts simultaneously. So you need to choose wisely. Now, I like to
call out. You did this at your webinar, and we got this as feedback that this is people know this, but they just don't remember it unless someone like Ilene comes and says, "Hey, have a negative thought. Now have a positive thought. Try to have them at the same time."
Exactly. It is the best exercise to do. And then when you're trying to do it at the same time, don't hold on to that for too long. So you're wasting your time. It is not possible. And one visual that I love, and of course, it depends what generation you are. So for me, it would be a record album. The current terminology is vinyl, right? So think of, I'm going to use my terminology, a record on a record player, an old-fashioned record player. When that's playing, if there's a scratch, the needle keeps hitting the scratch. Those are those negative thoughts that you're ruminating over, is that scratch in the record. So you have a couple options. pick up the needle, move it this way, put it back down, and the record keeps playing until it hits the scratch again. So you've now still got that thought that's going to stop you. You've got to put on a new album, a new vinyl, a new record. The old one still has a scratch. That's the ruminating. And that depletes you. So if you find yourself ruminating about something you just heard on the news, or something happened in your family dynamic in the morning, and you're ruminating over that, that's impacting your enjoyment. It's impacting your productivity. You can't think well and be effective and efficient. And it's funny, in our roles, Senya and mine, and as coaches, people always say, give me productivity tips. There are phenomenal productivity tips out there. However, if you are not taking care of your thoughts, you're not getting your sleep, your nutrition, your exercise, those tips are going to be compromised. You can't leverage those tips. So we're talking about under the hood stuff, right? So it's not, think of us as a car. The paint might be these wonderful productivity tips, but we need our engine to run. So that's our mind and our body.
So if I follow you right, for self, it was those 5 items, which we can repeat, but it was those 5. And then for thoughts, it's choosing the positive thought over the negative thought. Is that accurate?
Exactly. Replacement thoughts. Yep. So what often I used to work in a program, a wellness program for a hospital with people working on extreme weight loss. And I would say, if I say, don't eat the chocolate cake, your brain hears, oh, chocolate cake, chocolate cake, chocolate cake. That's all you want to eat. Understandable. So instead, what are you going to do? What do you want to put in your mind? So instead of eating the chocolate cake, I'm going to have, and I'm probably getting daggers thrown at me right now, I'm going to have fresh fruit, or I'm going to go for a walk, or whatever it is. So what do you want to do? Because your brain needs something to hook onto. And so that's that replacement thought. So have you ever had anybody say to you, oh, Senya, you need to stop thinking about that? How well did that work for you?
Just makes you feel guilty, because you probably also think I should stop thinking about it. But what do? Yeah. Exactly.
So coming up with a replacement thought that replenishes you, because the other one's depleting you. So that's that, using that lens. So even a question in the middle of the day, if you're having a tough time and you've got something going on in your mind, just stopping yourself and say, how does this thought serve me? What do I want to do with this thought? Because often we think that having that thought and holding on to it, it's helping us, when it really isn't. So that's on the thoughts. Now for the connection and connecting with other people. So this one, and you're going to have to hear me out on it, because you might take it like, oh, there's no way. So Senya and I were actually just talking about organizing, and there's, I have not read, but I know for Marie Kondo, she talks about, I've just heard it on, the media and stuff. Does this bring me joy? Does this bring me joy? And so when you clear out your closet, does it bring me joy? So what I like to think about with relationships, does this relationship bring me joy? If it brings me joy, boom, it goes in this pile. If it doesn't bring me joy, it goes in this pile. So now where people might say, but I can't let go of, there's some relationships. It might be who you report to, doesn't bring you a lot of joy. It could be a colleague. It could be a family member who drains you. It could be, whatever, someone in the home who has different political differences, that drains you. Whatever it is, that's okay. I'm not saying you have to get rid of all the relationships that don't bring you joy, but you do need to offset them. So what I mean by that, if you look at your calendar and you're thinking, this is going to be the most draining day ever. I know I'm going to be working with my child on a test, helping them prep for a test, and there's going to be that kind of going on. And then I've got this meeting with a colleague who I'm not a huge fan of. I've got this day that just is going to sap me. That's when it's time to take control. What will replenish me? Okay, so I'm having a connection that's going to drain the life out of me. Mm-hmm. Who's my connection that fills me up? So just again, as you use your car, you use your gas in your car, you need to put more gas in. You use the money in your bank, you have to put more money in. You use the battery in your phone, you have to recharge. So that's what this natural resource management is. As I get sapped, I'm replenishing. So I'm either replenishing with a better thought, a better connection, and not a better connection, but a connection that will offset some of the energy, you might want to even sandwich it. I am going into something tough at noon. So at 11 o'clock, I know I'm going to reach out to this friend who I just love reminiscing with. And then at 1 o'clock, I'm going to watch a show that just makes me laugh. That's how you're managing your energy. So,
we're getting some comments, so I'll put them up. We love Ilene, so full of expression and wisdom. I don't know who said this. Somebody I'm watching on Facebook right now.
oh, thank you.
And then somebody else saying 1, 2, 3, awesome.
Oh my gosh, thank you. You just made my day. Thank you. The last thing I was going to say, and then let's open it up for questions, or if you have questions. The only other thing I was going to just leave you with an image, and this is a client of mine who has an incredibly demanding life, which pretty much they all do, and pretty much all our viewers do. Right now, we're being asked to do so much, and nobody's giving us robots to help us out. So it's, you know, it's just like when you absorb a colleague's responsibilities, a colleague who's left, and you've absorbed all your responsibilities with no more people power on your team. That's what's happening to all of us right now. And so this one client, she said, I just have so many balls in the air, and I feel like they're all going to come crashing down. And I said, well, what if you were one of those balls? And she was like, oh. I said, what ball do you need to catch first? And that's what we need. It gives me chills, actually. That's what we need to start thinking about, is we are one of those balls in the air. And if you don't do this and replenish yourself when you are having those days that are draining, which can be a lot of the days, and honestly, don't wait till it's a draining day. Start gassing up. Don't wait till your account's on empty. You know, start gassing up right away, or your car's on empty. But if you're one of those balls and you go crashing to the ground, absolutely no other ball will stay in the air. Mm-hmm. So I'm leaving you with that image, and then we'll open it up.
Type in your questions into the question section for Ilene on this method. Also type in what's up to now. What is your takeaway? What are you taking away? Which part of this are you taking away? As you do this, Ilene, could you summarize the 1, 2, 3? And I'll put up some notes as you're saying it. Could you summarize the entire 1, 2, 3 approach?
Absolutely. There's one you and no upgrades available. You've maxed out on your upgrades. There are 2 lenses, replenish and drain. I'm going to put my fingers back over here. And there are 3 areas. So it's yourself, your thoughts, and your connection. You got it.
And then could you give us the detail, even if it's just a shortcut for the self, the thoughts, and the connection?
Absolutely. So the self, there's those 5 key areas. So you have the movement, body movement, your nutrition, how you fuel your body. And I was going to say, if that's an area for you that you feel like is really taking a hit, I highly encourage you to reach out to, just as you reach out to an executive coach or a life coach for your life, somebody to get you back on track in that area. So nutrition is key for our ability to thrive. Then somebody who filled you up, a connection, somebody who fills your bucket and your soul, an activity that you do that fills your bucket and your soul, whether it's gardening, writing, or drawing, whatever it is. And then the last one is the minimally 7 hours of sleep a night. And then the thoughts, it's that replacement thought. So we often think, I just need to stop thinking this way. True. But how are you going to think? That's more important. How are you going to think? And then start training yourself, because can I have 1 second to give a good visual on the thoughts that I love? It's when you think about we talk about neural pathways and having how our thoughts, we have this natural direction where our mind goes. So if we have, if we're constantly going to the negative, that path becomes really well worn. And so I love thinking of it like you're going on a hiking trip. So of course you're hiking. I'm scared stiff of snakes, as is my husband. So if you even heard the word while I'm saying it right now, he's probably, but if you're hiking, usually you want that well-worn path. You don't want the path where all the shrubs or whatever, the weeds are up to here, because you don't know what's under there. So you go the path of least resistance. So as you start to try to get replacement thoughts and start to train your mind to think the way you want, you're walking in this path maybe that has all the stuff. And we need you to keep going on that path so that you can push down the weeds there, and then the weeds start to grow on the negative path.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's a way to think of the thoughts.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
And then the last one is the connection. And that is really evaluating who brings me joy and who doesn't. And the people who don't, those are those people who sap your energy, they deplete you. If you still need to have them in your life, and you might not. On this talk, somebody was saying that they definitely weed through who they stay connected to. But we can't do that with everybody. So what doses do you need to have? What boundaries around this person? And then how am I going to replenish myself when I've had interactions with somebody who maybe just has a negative vibe and you're thinking, this doesn't work for me anymore. Mm-hmm. So I can give you half an hour of my time, but I'm going to give a buffer of an hour on either side with somebody who just makes me smile and shine.
Yeah. Yeah, your model is so clear that there's only one you. And then through this lens of replenishing or draining, let's look at these 5 things in self, those 5 that we mentioned, the replenishing or draining on thoughts and replenishing or draining on connection. It's very clear, that whole pyramid.
I don't like complex, because complex we don't do, right? We do what's easy. And in my mind, I am constantly thinking, does this replenish or drain me? Mm-hmm. And if it drains and I have to have it, how am I going to offset that?
Mm-hmm. And there's some great research on just the questions that we ask ourselves lead us to the direction that we want. So if you're constantly asking, does this replenish or drain? Obviously, your mind is going to go for, okay, where's the replenish in my life? Yeah, my thoughts, my connections. So somebody says, love the 5 things under replenish. And the same person, Avinash, is saying, this is a question. Many times you have lots of time, but less energy. How do you improve energy besides the 5 things under replenish? And how do you keep that energy reserved? These days, it depletes fast. I agree with you, Avinash. We may want to have a webinar on energy. In a sense, this is a webinar on energy. But I also understand your question. How else can you replenish besides those 5? Yeah, what do you think, Ilene?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you for asking that. What I would say, and I do always go back to those 5, I'm going to be honest. However, we can't put the pressure on those to, it's like, oh, I checked the box, I had a good breakfast. Or I checked the box, I took a walk with my dog this morning, and now you're at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. We need to do it throughout the day. So constantly asking ourselves that question, what do I need now? What will fill me up? And it might be, I need to get out and walk again. We know we should be getting up from our chair every hour. So if you're finding yourself at the desk from 8 a.m. till 7 p.m., that's an exaggeration. Hopefully you've gotten up more between that. But having mini breaks throughout can really energize you. And even if it's a 15-minute break. And I'm a huge fan of walking, which you all whoever's been on the show knows that probably by now. But getting out in nature and getting out, seeing the blue sky, if you have blue sky, seeing a tree, whatever it is, getting outside is also a huge energizer. And that's one that I didn't put on my 5. But I would definitely recommend sprinkling. I did another talk, another webinar with Senya, sprinkling replenishment throughout the day. So looking at these 5, adding in nature and trying to get them throughout the day. Senya, I'm curious if you have other thoughts. It's such a good question.
Replenishing energy. I think your 5 are so important. Just even if you had a great breakfast, but then you had a bite for lunch because you couldn't get away between calls. So I think your 5 are a nice go back to again and again. But now that you ask, we had a really lovely webinar with Brian Brannigan on breathing, and sometimes just looking away from your screen, just like you said, to go outside. Go ahead. You had more thoughts on the breathing.
No, keep it going. I love that's such.
However you do it, whether you go outside for a moment and take a breath as much as we can where you are, or if you even do it at your computer, even with the other person there, people don't really notice when you're taking a deep breath. You do, because I took a breath right now. I mean, I did it audibly, but.
Yeah, but breathing is key. I'm so glad you brought that up. Absolutely. And particularly, again, it can replenish you in the moment and no one knows you're doing it. So some of these things I talked about, you're doing on your own, but we don't always have that luxury to get out on our own. So breathing and being conscious of your breath. And usually what we're doing is we're holding our breath in. So it's that exhale that we want to make sure we have.
Avinash, let us know if you have other ideas based on what Ilene has just said about managing energy and re-energizing, replenishing. All right, 3 more comments coming at us. First of all, Molly Brown says, great ideas. Thank you, Molly. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
One person, Lavinia, is saying, thank you for your tips today. I'm definitely going to work on this, on these kinds of boundaries. And it sounds like on the replenishment versus drainingness.
Yeah, the boundaries is key. It really is, because again, there's only one us. And if we are totally depleted and we're everything to everybody, we can't help everybody. You know, you can't. You've got to have those boundaries so you can replenish and then be the best you.
I would even add, Ilene, your tip about connections, I'll just put that banner up while we're talking about it. You said replenishes and drains, and then between self-thought and connection. If you're looking at your calendar and you know something's intense, but a lot of times people have access to our calendars. So you know something's intense and you think, oh, I'll just go outside, but you don't put that buffer. We don't put the buffer. We want to be available, but we don't put that buffer, right? And somebody else might schedule right afterwards where it's intense. It doesn't mean you don't like the person or you don't like the work, but it's just very intense.
Yeah, I love that. And that goes back to the previous question is managing your calendar. And that goes into one of those productivity tips is how do you want to manage your calendar so that you have personal breaks, which then ultimately manages your energy. So, yeah.
And one person had a lovely idea on thoughts. So replenishing and draining thoughts. So I'll put it up. I don't know who it is, but it's someone on Facebook who says, this morning I found myself harnessing thoughts of Ruth Bader Ginsburg. She brings out the wise, deep woman within me. I really enjoy harnessing the calm, wise queen within myself in her honor as a way of strengthening, replenishing thoughts.
Oh, we got to keep that. That gives me chills. That's beautiful. And that statement, I know, Senya, we've talked about this. I haven't watched the TED Talk that you had mentioned about acting as if. And that's a perfect example. It's like acting as if you're RBG, you know? It's like acting as if, how would she handle this, and harnessing her power, her strength, and her ability.
Great idea. This is Shannon Polly's idea because she comes from an acting background. And so she even says about all of the character strengths. How can you take it on, almost like you're wearing a sweater? How can I act as if this? I didn't even make that connection. That's very cool.
Beautiful comment. Thank you.
It's so energizing. We're at time. I'm going to summarize by putting on the screen the 3 things that Ilene described, and then I'll open it up to you, Ilene, for a closing thought. So here are the things. Ilene said there's only one you, and you can decide at any point whether you're replenishing or draining. And here are the categories that you can replenish or drain: yourself, your thoughts, and your connection. And within self, correct me if I don't have it, within self, it's how did you sleep? How did you get movement? How did you nourish yourself? What are you doing to fill your bucket? And what are you doing connection-wise?
Perfect. You got it.
Connection, replenishing those. Bring us home, Ilene. What is your last on this topic? What is your wish for the people who are with us today?
Yeah, my wish is to get back into your power of control. Really stand in your power and know, you know what, I have control over this. And I am going to replenish myself, and always think of yourself as one of those balls in the air. We use that analogy all the time. I have so many balls in the air. Okay, you are one of those balls. You're the most important ball. So next time you think about all that you have and you've got these balls like you're a juggler, make sure you catch yourself first.
Ilene, thank you so much. Thank you. We've been here talking with Ilene about the 1, 2, 3 approach. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. And thank you everyone for spending time with us. You've got busy days. So I thank you for choosing to be here.
I second that completely. All the best. Good weekend. We will see you Monday to Friday at 11 a.m. Pacific. All the best.
Thank you.